Chad and Senegal are just the latest in a string of African nations turning their backs on France. But why now? Thousands hit the streets of Dakar, accusing France of neocolonial exploitation. By 2024, Senegal followed Chad's lead, severing diplomatic ties. From Chad to Senegal, African nations are rising, cutting ties with their old colonial ruler. And now, with Nigeria pushing for a closer partnership with France, one big question looms: is Nigeria making a mistake? Let's dive into the geopolitics of this rapidly shifting dynamic.
This Nigeria-France relationship is not a new relationship, and it's a significant one. France is our biggest trade partner in Europe, and we're their biggest in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a $5 billion relationship. But France is courting a new bride now that the Francophone countries like Senegal, Chad, Niger and Mali are abandoning, their former colonial masters and looking for newer relationships. However, Nigeria is using this as an opportunity to deepen our ties with France. What positives do you see from this relationship, particularly when it comes to security and our economy? And also, it was said yesterday that Nigeria signed an MOU with France in the mining space. Do you believe that this is going to have positive outcomes for the country?
No. To be honest, I'm terribly nervous, and every Nigerian should be. Okay, let's look at our relationship with France, past, present, and the future. So when France has been in all these Francophone African countries, West Africa, for 66 years, and they've been kicked out. They've been kicked out of recently Chad, Senegal, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, five of your neighbors kicked the colonial master, and all of a sudden you are hugging that person. There is something you guys know that we don't know. But let's look at the history of France in Africa or anywhere else in the world. It's not been good. Look at all these countries. You need to ask yourself, why was France kicked out of those places? They were literally sucking their resources. And there is no development in any of these countries, any. You go to Chad, you go to Mali, you go to Burkina Faso, you go to Niger, there is nothing to see, but they've been sucking their uranium and gold. All of a sudden, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in this love fest with Macron and France. We're asking ourselves why. What do we have in common with France? Literally nothing. You look at our history with France. France has been one of the major countries that was opposed to a united Nigeria. France opposed the creation of ECOWAS. France opposed the creation and sabotaged the creation of a single ECOWAS currency, the ECO. And France literally sabotaged ECOWAS by this young military hunters leaving ECOWAS. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. ECOWAS is now just a shell. Wherever France is not good. Mr. President, you are not talking to Nigerians. You remember after the coup in Niger? Nigeria, the president had just started. He had not even assembled his team. He said, we're going to attack France. We're going to attack Niger. And I'm sure prodded by France. We in the north resisted vehemently. We are not going to allow Nigeria to invade Niger because the fight was going to be a proxy war. America, the United States of America, had one of the biggest drone bases in Agadas, in Niger. Yeah, this thing was, they're going to fight Islamists and all that. No, insecurity has been much worse where you have foreign bases by these foreign countries. The reason France is cozying to Nigeria and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is allowing them to, and we will resist, is because they are looking for a place to situate their military base after being kicked out. We in the north, which is a place they are looking to locate these bases, we in the north will vigorously resist any any foreign military boots on our soil. So, Mr. President, you need to know we do not have any historical ties, defense or economic or linguistic with France. And all this causing the French are doing, the reception they gave Mr. President was fit for a king. He will not get that if he goes to England or the United States or anywhere in the world. What is France getting for that? France wants three things. One, it wants right to concessions to exploit our minerals, which are predominantly in the north, which is what they've been doing in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Number two, they want concessions in oil and gas. Oh, that's why they said, oh, I heard the spokesman of the president saying, oh, Total is going to invest 750 million in gas. And I ask myself, is this true or is this fiction? Because this same Total, 17 months ago, 16 months ago in July, exited Nigeria and sold all its stake at 860 million to a Mauritius-based company and left. Their reasons were sabotage, theft, oil spillage, and high cost of lawsuits. So what has changed in 16 months that they're coming back again? After selling 860 million and left town, or they're coming to invest 750 million, we were told. It's not going to happen. So they're looking for three things. They are looking to come and exploit our mineral resources predominantly in the north. They are looking to explore oil and gas, which they ran away from, and they are coming. And number three, most importantly, most worrying, and everybody in Nigeria, I beg you to lend me your ears. We will resist vehemently any attempt by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government to allow any foreign military base on our soil, particularly in the north, because it's going to be a harbinger of trouble. All these lacura things you're hearing, it is the French that started all of these things. They started all of these things. Wherever France was in West Africa, there's no peace. Why would President Bola Ahmed Tinubu bring them back without consulting anybody? So, military base, France or America or any country will be resisted vigorously by all of us because this is a country we love and we're not going to allow recolonization of this Nigeria like they've done in the other countries. In Hausa, there is a saying, in kaga gemu dan uwanka ya kama wuta, ka sa naka ruwa. If you see the beard of your neighbor catches fire, put water, dampen water on yours. Well, France has put fire all over the Sahel. And we are inviting them into our household? No, we are not going to do that. Business, do that. And it has to go through due process. And I'm calling on our sleepy, do-nothing 10th Assembly to wake up to its responsibility. They are the ones we elected. They are the ones who should checkmate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in all the opaque things he's been doing. He disappears into France for working holiday, and nobody knows what he's going to do there. Like he's being called for consultation. This is a democracy, not a military rule. And we need to know what our government and our president is taking us into. But foreign military base is a no-no. And exploiting our mineral resources behind our back is not going to happen. It's going to be transparent, there's going to be open bid, and all of us stakeholders must be involved in this. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Professor Usman, thank you so much for your submissions this morning. Well, let's even lean further into the geopolitical implications of this relationship, considering the current rivalry between Western powers and China for influence in the global south. How does Nigeria's embrace of France fit into this dynamic? Could this partnership position Nigeria as a critical player in balancing global power, or is there a risk in alienating other potential allies such as China or Russia?
Right. That is what Nigeria is just going to be used as a pawn. And it's essentially sticking out our neck and giving it to them. And the fight is not between the West and China. No, the fight is between the West and Russia. Look at what just happened in Syria. Look at just what happens in Syria. The rebels took over Aleppo. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening in Israel. It's going to be a proxy war between between NATO and Russia, because all these French West African countries, they are inviting Russia after kicking America, after kicking China. So it's going to be a proxy war, and we are not going to be part of it. We are going to resist it, especially all of us in the north that are going to bear the full brunt of any recklessness of bringing any foreign food on our soil. We're not going to accept it. So China is it's not about China. It's about United States, NATO, and Russia. So, Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you are elected by us. You must speak to us. You are not going to commit us to any foreign military presence in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And whatever investments you do must be vetted by our sleepy 10th Assembly. They must wake up. But I call on all Nigerians, particularly our elders, our governors, our National Assembly, our traditional rulers and clerics, to look, danger is coming. Our Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's romance with France is no good news for Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, Prof. Thanks for your submissions so far. Some people might see it as a bit alarming. Others might think that it is largely speculative. But then I'd like to remind you of what Adesua started with, the relationship that Nigeria had with France, particularly after the Civil War, given the fact that, it was the side of Biafra that France was. But of course, the relationship developed in a way, in a positive way after that. So my question to you is that how will you want President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to embrace France, which, as you were reminded earlier, is our biggest trade partner in the EU, as we are their biggest trade partner, in Africa? Don't forget, sir, that Emmanuel Macron was in Nigeria in 2018, received by former President Buhari in Abuja and received by former Governor Akinwumi Ambode in Lagos. Beautiful relationship on display. Before then, Olusegun Obasanjo, General, was the president when democracy returned at that time, had Jacques Chirac in Abuja. He went to France too, the same way that Bola Tinubu has gone to France, was also very warmly received, and business relationship developed. Why do you think that it will be a different case with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president, given the fact that not just trade, but core component of the relationship that is being built is the security angle? You made reference to LACRA and the dangers that they portend. If there will be ways in which we can work with France to stem that tide, wouldn't you encourage it?
Right, and that's the scary part, Steve. If France could help any country with security, why didn't he help Mali? Why didn't he help Niger? Why didn't he help Burkina Faso? Why didn't he help Chad? It's been there forever. Their troops have been there forever. You think it didn't help them with all their bases? It's going to help you? Steve, let's wake up. Only Nigeria can help itself by liberating itself from these colonial forces that are doing nothing but stirring trouble in the Sahel. Doing nothing but stirring trouble in the Sahel. So for anybody to think France is coming to help us with security is deluding himself. The biggest problem we will have is this. And this is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his misfiring of how to handle the situation after the coup in Niger is the one increasing more insecurity coming to Nigeria. Because Niger and Chad and Cameroon, they've been doing a lot of heavy lifting on our behalf, fighting Boko Haram and bandits and ISWAP. Now, you're not going to talk to them, you're fighting them, they lift their feet off the brakes, and these guys roll in. France is not going to help you with that. The only thing that will help you with this Lakurawa nonsense, this optic we are seeing in Lakurawa is suspect. I'll tell you. I had the other day the spokesperson of the defense headquarters in Nigeria saying, or in his press briefing, say Lakurawas, they are new, they are related to the coup in Niger. Hello, Mr. Spokesperson, you should know better. It's Lakurawa, as we know today, have been around in this country, a sovereign Nigeria, non-state actors from Mali or from wherever came to Nigeria. They've been here for 7 years. 7 years, since 2017, at the invitation of local communities to help them fight bandits, to help them do the job that security services could not do. They came under the nose of the federal government, under the nose of the state government, under the nose of all security services, under the nose of all our intelligence services. And now all of a sudden we are doing this. The question to ask Nigerians should be asking is, why did we allow a non-state actor to come into Nigeria, settle, and continue its activities for the past 7 years? And why all of a sudden are we saying, oh, Lakurawa, 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 just to give a reason for France to come in? That is the only reason. Fellow Nigerians, you can never stop this Lakurawa, Boko Haram, and all these bandits, all these terrorists, if you don't have good relationship with your neighbors. Not France. Bringing France in is going to make us into a hotbed for terrorism, is going to make us poorer, is going to make us second-class citizens. They will open a base in Katsina State and be digging our gold, and I cannot go there as a person from Katsina. We've seen that in Niger, we've seen that in Mali. This is what they have been doing. So fellow Nigerians, we should open our eyes. We in the north will vigorously resist any attempt by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government to allow foreign military bases on our soil. End of story. I don't know how else to say it.
Okay, Professor.
So Chadian government also asked France to vacate its own country. The Chadian government, on their press release, confirmed that they no longer wish to accommodate the French military garrison in their country, and that they wish going forward to reassert their sovereignty and remove French inordinate control of their land. So because of that, they asked the French to pack out of their country. This, of course, is following the series of the event that took place in the Sahel, where you have the same issue took place in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and it also took place in Guinea-Conakry. So and now Chad followed suit. So let's wait and see what's going to happen, but it looks like France have lost the entire Sahel with exit from Chad. I recorded a video on TikTok about the context behind which form some of the substantive reason Chad and Senegal asked France to vacate from their countries. And I provided the granular context because there are so many series of events that took place that led to such decisions. And because of the facts and the way I explain it, TikTok call it that I had violated their community guidelines. And they put, of course, this black and they show community guidelines and the risks of suspension and this and that. This is the truth. This is the fact. It was carried by even French papers, AFP, Le Monde, and so many Western papers that this is the reasons why these things happened. Yet, they decided to say I violated their community guideline because I'm talking against the French, because I'm talking about the Western interests against them, because I'm talking about, the interests of colonialists. And that is why it is very important for us to build our platform. Because it is likely, whether we like it or not in the future, that once you want to talk the truth, once you want to decolonize your mind, once you want to get enlightenment, once you want to say the truth, they will suppress you and they can stop at nothing behind doing that. Until you become advocates of falsehood, advocates of their agenda, they will constantly block you.
For decades, France maintained a tight grip on its former colonies in Africa, using military alliances, economic agreements, and cultural influence to secure its interests. But things are changing fast. Let's start with Chad. Chad, rich in oil and minerals, was long considered a cornerstone of French influence in Central Africa. France provided military support to stabilize the country, at least on the surface. But many Chadians began to question, was France protecting Chad or its own access to resources? In 2023, leaked documents revealed what many had suspected. French corporations were reaping billions from Chad's oil fields, while Chadian citizens saw little benefit. Protests erupted, and Chad's government demanded greater control over its natural wealth. When France refused to renegotiate, Chad made a bold move, cutting diplomatic ties. And then there's Senegal, a nation long seen as one of France's closest African allies. But even here, things boiled over. Senegal has massive untapped reserves of oil and gas off its coast. Recent discoveries showed that French energy giants were lining up to claim a lion's share of these resources under lopsided deals. The Senegalese people weren't having it. France's grip on Africa has been weakening for years, thanks to rising anti-colonial sentiment and competition from other powers like China and Russia. African leaders are recognizing that the old deals, designed to benefit France, are no longer sustainable. France's reliance on these resources is being exposed, and African nations are leveraging this to renegotiate their place on the global stage. Now let's talk about Nigeria, the economic powerhouse of Africa and a regional leader. Unlike Chad and Senegal, Nigeria seems to be leaning into a relationship with France. But why? And is this a mistake? But here's the catch. France's track record in Africa has been less than stellar. Its military interventions often come with strings attached, economic deals that prioritize French corporations. If Nigeria partners with France, it risks falling into the same trap that Chad and Senegal just escaped. Critics argue that Nigeria should look at Chad and Senegal as cautionary tales. After all, African resources are a magnet for foreign exploitation. But Nigeria's leaders might see things differently. Unlike Chad and Senegal, Nigeria has a stronger economy and a larger population. Its leaders might believe they can negotiate with France from a position of strength. But the risk is clear. Partnerships with France often come at the cost of sovereignty. Think about it. While Chad and Senegal are pushing for African self-determination, Nigeria's choice could tether it closer to a fading empire. Is this a calculated risk or a costly gamble? The stakes are enormous. As more African nations distance themselves from France, the power dynamics of the continent are shifting. Chad and Senegal are betting on a future where African nations control their own resources. If they succeed, they could inspire a new wave of independence across the continent. So, what do you think? Is Nigeria playing it smart, or is it walking into a trap? And what does this mean for the future of Africa's relationship with France? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you next time as we unravel more mysteries of global politics, right here on Dakar, Africa. Until then, stay informed and stay empowered.